We all stand for the pledge, please? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's town board meeting, May 12th, 2026. First thing on the agenda tonight is bids and awards. First one is authorization to award Manganaro Engineers for the professional services to assist the town of Mount Pleasant complying with New York State Department of Environmental Conservation regarding dams in the amount of $46,250 to August 2026, and every 10 years thereafter. This work will encompass the engineering assessment of the 4 dams located in the Mechanical Water District that compound lakes that supply water to the district. I think it's comprised lakes. The assessment and related work is required by New York State DEC, Dam Safety Section. It is regulated duty of dam owners. Manganaro Engineers has vast experience in this type of work and has an in-depth knowledge of our mechanical dams. It is our recommendation to approve this purchase now. Total cost, again, $46,250.
I'd like to make a motion for approval, Mr. Supervisor.
I second it.
Motion by Tom, second by Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I heard you both very clearly that.
You got the voices down now?
We're getting there.
Next item, authorization to award bid to Smith Wholesalers. This is to purchase 29 60-foot rolls of 1-inch K-type copper for installation of 66 water service lines for Phase 1 of the Kensico Preserve Development Project. Will be installed by the town water department staff as per the water system improvement agreement executed with the town board. Cost estimate for materials is $21,985.36.
I'll move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, again to Smith Wholesalers. Purchase order A302606, authorization to award bid to Smith Wholesalers Incorporated to purchase 66 1-inch Mueller Corporation stops for the installation of 66 water service lines for Phase 1 of the Kensico Preserve Development Project, which will be installed by the town water department staff as per the water system improvement agreement executed with the town board. The cost of this material is $5,447.14.
Move for approval.
I second it.
Motion by Mark, second by Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Again.
Next item is Smith Wholesalers again. Purchase 66 1-inch Mueller Corporation stop valves for the installation of 66 water service lines for Phase 1. The same project, Kensico Preserve. Total cost $5,447.14.
I'll move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second?
second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is purchase order A302608, authorization to award bid to Expanded Supply Products to purchase 66 Buffalo type curb boxes for the installation of 66 water service lines, again for the Kensico Preserve. Total cost $4,125.
I'll move for approval.
Motion by Joe,
I'll second.
second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item again, to Smith Wholesalers, authorization to award Smith Wholesalers to purchase one Mueller tapping machine and 10 one-inch tapping bits for the installation of, again, the 66 water service lines for the Kensico Preserve. Total cost $7,258.63.
Move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the supervisor's report. It's a call for a public hearing to amend section 20615, no parking trucks and tractor trailers, to include Choate Lane. We presently have a code regarding no trucks and trailers parked on residential streets. This one is to include Choate Lane. There's been complaints over there with large trucks being parked on the street, which is a very substandard street. So, and there's been complaints of being able to get by the truck when it's there. This parking will be standing and stopping between the hours of 9 and 7 a.m. Be amended to include the location, Choate Lane, the entire length. Chapter 206, traffic and safety, vehicles and traffic. We have, what will be a good date for that? Public hearing?
May 26th.
May 26th, we'll set the date for the public hearing.
I'll move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is SGD Landscaping, landscape maintenance for Banks Hill Cemetery from April 1st until November 30th, 2026. It's a bi-weekly mowing at $150 per cut, monthly billing $300. Additional services, an hourly rate of $60 per hour per laborer. Total cost for the season is $2,400. This is an abandoned cemetery off of Broadway in Pleasantville. Once the cemetery is abandoned, it becomes the municipality's responsibility to maintain. Resolution 17526 will authorize SGD Landscaping to continue maintaining.
I'll make a motion for approval, and I will commend the vendor for not raising their price from last year.
Thank you. Motion by Mark,
Second.
second by Danielle. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Guess he didn't get his latest gas bill. Next item is authorization to lift local code section 52-4, consumption in public places, possession of open containers, presumption of Mount Pleasant Day in the Hamlet of Hawthorne, September 27th, 1 to 5 p.m. The Mount Pleasant Chamber of Commerce is hosting, with the Thornwood Fire Department, co-sponsoring Mount Pleasant Day, the Hamlet of Hawthorne, Sunday, September 27th, 1 to 5 p.m. Elwood Avenue will be closed from the intersection of Elwood Avenue and Commerce Street to Cross Street from 10:30 until 6 p.m. Authorization requested to lift local code 52-4 for this purpose.
I move for approval.
Joe.
Yes, Joe. I'll second that, please.
Motion by Joe,
Second.
second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is authorization to approve a street closing permit for Fort Washington Avenue from Linwood Avenue to Monteith. John Seffi is requesting authorization for street closing from, let's see, June 13th, from 2 PM to 5 PM. No rain date is being requested.
I'll move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
I'll second.
second by Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Next item is from David Smith, our town engineer, authorization to change civil service status of Jeremiah Johnson in the Water and Sewer Department effective May 13th. Jeremiah was provisional, now he's no longer provisional, so this makes him a permanent employee, exempting him from taking the competitive exam in order to retain his position. Mr. Johnson's salary and benefits will be unaffected by this change in status.
Make a motion for approval, resolution 178-26,
Motion.
effective May 13th, 2026.
Thank you, Tom.
I'll second.
Second by Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The investment report, the current rate of interest in the town is 3%. At this time, we have business from the floor. Anyone wishes to discuss town business is welcome to do so at this time. I'm sorry?
3.
3%.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hello.
Deborah Gargiulo, Chapel Road, speaking on behalf of Clayburgh Lane Mulch Site. Before I start, I do want to acknowledge, and please don't cut me off because I'm adding a couple more sentences here. I want to acknowledge that the board and the town sent me this evening some documentation which I have not had an opportunity to review. It came in around 5:40 p.m. Since I haven't had a chance to review it and I don't know what's in it, I'm still going to read my statement. If there's something in here that is wildly wrong, please let me know. But otherwise, I will review it.
I would never say
tomorrow.
you're wildly wrong.
Thank you. All right, so good evening Supervisor Fulgenzi and members of the board. I'm standing before you again as a concerned resident and probably a broken record because the town had not provided sufficient clarity regarding zoning, permitting, environmental oversight, operational classification, and historical use of Clayburgh Lane site, despite ongoing concerns for environment, the safety of residents, children, pets, and emergency responders. Residents have been left to piece together through partial FOIL responses, DEC records, town meetings, and the town's own documents. This statement is meant not only to seek clarity, but to educate the public on what exists in the town documents, the ones I had before, which were very little. So I'd like to begin with this simple question. What exactly is the Clayburgh Lane site supposed to be? Because the town's record describes two different facilities with two very different purposes. The Petantica River Road site appears to have been intended as the town's formal composting facility operating under DEC Part 360 with inspections, reporting requirements, stormwater protections, and environmental safeguards monitored through the Division of Materials Management. The Clayburgh Lane site, however, was described differently. In October 2014, DEC inspection and correspondence, DEC referred to the Clayburgh Lane site as a mulch facility, while also stating that mulching facilities were not formally regulated under Part 360 at that time, but new regulations were forthcoming. Even before those regulations existed, the DEC still imposed operational expectations for Clayburgh Lane, including pile height limitations due to spontaneous combustion, prevention of material spillover, containment barriers, drainage corrections, and berm integrity protections. This inspection notes even stated that the town must cease dumping soil and organics adjacent to and on our berms. In 2015, the town issued an RFP, not just for a simple mulch pile, but for an organic recycling license. That RFP granted the contractor, or a contractor, the right to manage operations, process and sell materials, store trucks and equipment, and retain profits from proceeds, materials, and byproducts. And what's most concerning is the RFP contemplated an allowance of processed materials as bid that would be given back to the town to be used in the parks and playgrounds of the community. At this point, this no longer sounds like a small neighborhood mulch operation. I ask if I could please continue. Thank you. So I ask, at what point did Claybird Lane transition from a mulch operation to a broader organic recycling operation, and what permits, approvals, and environmental safeguards accompanied that change? The concerns identified in the DEC 2014 later became formalized under the New York Revised 2017 Part 360 series, specifically 6 NYCRR Part 361-4 governing mulch processing facilities, which also included fire prevention, material containment, stormwater controls, environmental protection, etc. Why is this important? Because today we're talking about lead contamination, disturbed berms, fill material, potential C&D material, mixed debris, petroleum, waterways, and questions regarding what materials entered and what left the site over the years. And what really matters is because mulch is being produced and grinded and processed clean wood material, which is then screened to remove soil and debris. At a site where wood, soil, fill, and potentially C&D material have become commingled, it is not possible to simply assume that materials being removed constitute clean mulch without proper separation, testing, manifest, and documentation. So I'm looking, and residents deserve to know a few things. We would like to know, what did the New York State DEC identify during inspection of the site visits? Did they identify mixed material, contaminated fill, petroleum impact, unacceptable material, or anything other than clean organic material? And while petroleum barrels and handling have been reportedly already discussed, a smell test is not an environmental test. Sorry, that was in an email. This site is in close proximity to environmentally sensitive areas, residential homes, and private wells, and we're waiting for answers. Residents understand that the soil testing occurred on April 13th. The water testing occurred on April 20th, but the public still has not received these results. We have heard preliminary testing identified lead within the berms. What was the score? And how does that compare to restricted or unrestricted residential standards? Was the waters tested for metals migration? Was the air quality evaluated following the fires and the disturbance of the material on site? Was any lead dust or airborne particles tested? While the town may say the site has been shut down, residents understand that this occurred only after the conditions became impossible to ignore. This is still an environmental issue. Residents do not want another situation like the Briarcliff fill contamination matter, where residents were initially reassured before larger environmental concerns later emerged. If contaminated or mixed materials exist on site, cleanup and removal cannot simply involve moving piles around. Cleanup must include manifests, source documentation, destination records, segregation of contaminated material, confirmation of fill, proper handling of C&D material, protection of berms, etc. I'll submit this. I would like to point out that the town's own RFP acknowledged that the site existed within a rural residential neighborhood and stated truck traffic would be limited to an average of 6 trips per day unless otherwise approved. Residents living here know that was not the reality. There were periods where trucks appeared to arrive every 15 minutes through the late afternoon. So this is not a small neighborhood mulch operation. This is a significant commercial operation for profit on town property within a residential area. And I am not inventing these standards tonight. I'm reading them directly from DEC inspection reports, DEC operational guidance, and the town's own RFP. Residents are just asking for accountability and clarity regarding environmental cleanup because the town has not provided it. Thank you. And thank you for letting me finish.
Will you be sending us that, or do you want me to take it and we can scan it? You have it?
No, this is new.
Yeah.
The other 65 pages you got today, that was old.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll scan it and send it to everybody on the board.
I'll still send it in.
Okay, thank you.
Chris, do you by any chance know when those results might be resolved in?
I'm not sure. I know Darius was in touch with them and talked to them, but I don't know.
Okay.
Anyone else like to address the board?
Good mics and no backfire yet, so that'll be good. Nancy Gallaudet, 816 Sleepy Hollow Road in town of Mount Pleasant, Briarcliff. And I wanted to start with a thank you to the planning board and to you all, because the developer of the proposed Fieldwood property and his support group did present at the last planning board meeting. And they were very gracious about, I think, doing the whole presentation, because I had a chance to write it online, and it was great. It was good to hear it, and I think it was an excellent presentation, obviously. And we had a chance to just chat with them, after, and, it was a very cordial situation, so thank you. Is this on okay, or is it squeaking? Because I hear myself backfiring. I'm returning again to ask you for clarification about the town code change being included as part of this proposal and the secret process. At the April 14th town board meeting, I raised concerns about not having the town code change resolved prior to proceeding with the application for the proposed development. I'm still perplexed how a town code change would not precede the secret process for a proposed development that's predicated on the fact that the requested change by the developer has been approved by the town board when it has not. And I'll get into that a little bit, and you can watch it for yourselves on the video. My second concern is that the requested change to move from the current nonprofit club status to for-profit status is a town code change that affects the entire town of Mount Pleasant. It's not restricted to this proposed development area, so has much wider implications for the town. Neither the planning board, and certainly not the developer, have the authority to enact a town-wide code change. I have a little alliteration going on here. Furthermore, technically speaking, since the town code current town code is nonprofit membership clubs only, the planning board should not take one step toward working, forward with the application at all, because what the planning board can only approve applies to nonprofit membership club per the existing town code. So they're in a sense entertaining a development that there's no existing code for. So I'm not sure that's a great way to start a project for the town. And actually moving ahead this way might get everything started off on the wrong foot, and it could cause problems. I don't know what problems, but I've seen it happen in my other experience, and it's many, many years of time and work, and I don't think that particular one will end well, but we'll see. Lastly, we should all be concerned about what's being portrayed, and I don't mean this, in a critical way, but as backdoor conversations regarding a town-wide code change. In last week's presentation, Mr. Steinmetz stated that the application to change the town code is actually with the town board. Now, he may be stretching the truth there, but those were his words, and referenced some conversations he had had with both the town attorney and Pat Cleary. And basically, the gist of the dialogue that he presented about this town board changes, that it was outdated, and it was all in the works to be approved, and that's why they were moving forward with the steps they asked for at the meeting, which was for the planning board to accept it and be the lead agency, which, again, because there's no town code change that supports the development that's being presented, I think there's a problem there. So, and I think it's really going to pose a conundrum for all of us. An application proceeding based on a non-existent code, and a developer seemingly very confident that he has authority to do so based on conversations with our elected officials. I think we should all be concerned about getting off on the wrong foot here, which is why I'm going back to my original request to the town board to conduct these public hearings, which in fact could have been happening, I would suggest, a year, because this development didn't just happen overnight. I'm not sure why that wasn't done. and just set the plate, you know, the dinner table with the right town code to support the development. But go back to the beginning and have the public hearing on this change, because it is a townwide change, with all the implications. And I think I was very clear that those implications should be for the residents nearby, of course, but the town as a whole, the developer, and existing nonprofit membership clubs. We don't know what that implication is going to be. How many clubs are there? What do they want to do with it? Do these people want to open a casino? I don't think so. I know you're very proud of what they're doing, and it does look very nice. But what about when they leave? Anybody can do anything that they want with the property when they leave? And it just opens up the door for a lot of misperceptions. They may indeed be complete, you know, misperceptions, but there's no reason to have a lack of just clarity on what is the difference and what they intend to do with the property.
What's your largest concern with the change to profit? I think I emailed you. I'm only because I'm not fully understanding, like,
I
use of-
can't answer the question because
Okay.
they haven't answered it. I would like to,
the developer.
I asked for I think we all would ask, it's just not me personally.
Right.
But I think that it seems like a large change. And I don't want to leave too much up for speculation, to your point. I don't want to say what my concerns
Yeah,
are.
I'm genuinely curious because I get very concerned when they'll tell you when developments come before us. This was one that I wasn't as concerned with that point, and maybe I'm missing something. That's why I ask.
I don't know.
'Cause
Maybe they should tell us.
To me, like
what
the
does it
land
mean?
use, the land use of a for-profit club, I would think is very, very similar to a non-for-profit club. And again, this is just my assumption. The same way, you know, I think some of your concern might be if they have too many parties, right? But restaurants and catering halls are for-profit businesses, and they have parties, and nonprofit clubs have parties every weekend, weddings, bar mitzvahs. I'm just having trouble.
I don't like to
thinking
deal
of
with
what the risk
assumptions,
is.
actually. I don't think we should be
Well, you
dealing
have
with
to, because
assumptions.
we don't know. I mean, there's no way
Well,
to
that's
know.
why we should ask.
That's
What's
why
the
I'm
difference?
asking. That's why I'm asking.
I'm not a
you.
lawyer.
I know. I'm just saying.
I'm not a
What
developer.
am I missing? I guess because normally I'm always like nervous about a development, and for this reason I'm not. So am I missing?
I want to actually make it clear, because I know there's some biases here about this development. I'm not against this development.
No, I know.
But I am highly suspicious when somebody doesn't want to answer a simple question. Tell me what it means. What are the implications for traffic, lighting, noise, all-hour parties? I don't know. I'm not trying to be exaggerating for exaggeration purposes,
Right.
but I think we have an opportunity and I think an obligation for somebody to explain it. You're the town board. Make them explain it. What we're getting now is not very clear in the presentation from Mr. Simons. I think that's his name. I'm sorry, but he's the fox in charge of the chicken coop. It may be only the houses. I have no idea.
I don't know.
So I don't. It's not a fair question for me. I think it's a responsibility of the town board, particularly when there's a town code change. You don't shrug it off. You don't just say, "Well, he thinks it's a great idea. I should do it." That's not. I don't think that's the way this should work. And I would hate to have everybody get off on the wrong foot for some really simple questions that shouldn't be that hard to answer. They could be answered independently, maybe by the lawyers, but I'm not so sure about that now if there are these private conversations going on. And again, I'm not suggesting anything. If somebody says, "Oh, I've had these conversations," and then walks away and says you should move ahead, the planning board moving ahead with an application for a town code change that doesn't exist, that's already a misstep. I don't know if that's a misstep for CEQA. I don't know why we would set ourselves up for a fall somewhere along the line, but I wouldn't do it.
Chris, just a clarification question. In order to change this code from nonprofit to profit, we would have to have a public hearing on that, right?
Exactly.
And,
Yes.
and at that point, we would get a presentation, and at that point,
Well,
I
that's
think
what I asked
I
for,
think it would be you would get some
4 months
clarity.
ago, or 3 months ago, and I think that was actually more than reasonable, but if that was a request that was made, which absolutely had to be done, and people said that shouldn't be a problem, I'm not saying they're trying to sweep anything I can see that.
Is it possible that doing CEQA
Well,
beforehand?
Right now, my understanding, which is limited, I'm not intimately working on this project, but my understanding is right now it's just a subdivision application. and then part of it is consideration of a potential text amendment, but
No, it's actually predicated on the text amendment because,
Well,
because the
I'm-
lawyer has said,
again,
If-
I'm not
I know, but just
intimately
so you
working
know-
on this, but I will tell you that if you look at the agenda, it says it's on for a subdivision
I know,
application.
I
to
was-
take it
we've
down to
been here.
65 parcels.
Right.
And then it also does mention that it includes a petition for a text amendment.
Exactly.
So they would.
text amendment for
they
the whole
can-
town.
They can make a petition to the town board
They did.
for the application.
They did.
of the
So
change.
Chris, let me
Well, they
ask you,
claim they did.
let
They
me
did
ask,
not. So there's been no discussions. You said it was the developer? There's been no discussions.
He said the application is with the town board, and,
Have you
I've
seen an
a-
application?
but, so that's going to
We're
my point.
aware that they're
Let's-
looking for
let's
something.
not-
They haven't formally
Let's not
applied.
confuse
Right,
all the
but-
issues.
But there's
So it
been
hasn't
no
come here yet.
discussion.
Okay, well then they shouldn't have presented and asked the planning board to take a vote on this application and lead agency and all that. Only one person said no.
but that's,
Let me just finish, okay, sorry. Only one person said no, and that was Chair Collins, because I think he understood that they shouldn't be involved in something that isn't supported by the current town code. I didn't ask him, we couldn't ask questions, he
that's
didn't
not-
offer.
just so you understand it better, I was on the planning board 10.5 years. This sequence of what is happening is done perfectly and legally. You're presenting it as if it's out of sequence. If there's a code change, whatever the issue is, it's a recommendation to the town board. The secret process is important that it's analyzed. All your questions that you're asking are gonna be analyzed in specific detail under secret.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're confusing
And
things,
then-
so excuse me. I understand the secret process.
Then the recommendation for the profit or nonprofit goes back to the town board, but the process the secret process you have to let it happen.
Why
you're
would you waste everybody's time on a proposal?
That's the procedure, that's how it's done legally, that's how it's been done for the land, am I right,
Okay.
Chris?
You know, again, I haven't.
You're
been
you're
intimately
taking it
involved
out
in
of
this time.
sequence,
There
and
are
you're presenting
times-
as if something is wrong, that's the way it's done.
Okay, I do think it's illogical, and I think that it's unnecessary for everybody to be going through the motions with this thing, having spent 6 years on another property where there were a few missteps from the very beginning, and why do that now? I'm not trying to beat up this developer at all. I mean, I
But
far prefer...
that's the sequence of how it's done.
Okay, well, I disagree with
Well,
you,
my-
the way this is
It's
I
being
don't want
not
to go
done.
back
me,
and
it's
forth
the
either, but
process.
my
Yeah,
thought,
neither.
my thought is that the secret would actually benefit us as the town board, because we would have a traffic analysis, we would have an environmental analysis done, which may help us decide, do we want to make the zoning change or not? Like, a lot of the questions that I would think would come up during secret,
That's
and
a
then,
good point.
right, wouldn't that kind of educate us?
Exactly.
Except
more
we
than we
don't
can
know the
without-
impact of it changing.
Well, we
already
know the impact of the use that they're looking for, in other words, right? They're going to present it as a club.
Okay, well, I've said my piece.
No, I appreciate
think-
it. I'm
I
not, and
think
I'm not
that,
arguing,
I think, I mean, it'll-
I must be missing
I
something,
understand
I'm
your
sorry.
point, but it's illogical.
I understand.
And I think, without being, again, confrontational, I think that there's been a lot of missteps with a lot of developments, and there are a lot of questions. And I honestly, after that meeting, I was like, why would we invite this again? It's a very simple thing. If the application's with you, it's not holding up anything, to your point. It might anger the developer that is going to public hearing and being reviewed. He did not answer he answered the question of a planning board member, a planning board member asked him what happens if the town code doesn't change. And he said, I think we would have a very adversarial relationship. Okay? So again, why start off, with your fists out? And that only makes me kind of like, well, why the reaction? Why the reaction to that? Just explain it. I don't think it's a big question, and I don't think it should be biased from the developer's point of view. Maybe there's different people speaking, but just get it out there. Why have all this suspicion starting and questions, and are there going to be lights all night, and all these, crazy ideas that may be perfectly logically answered. There's also an option to do a site-specific change, I'm sure. So we've seen that in some areas, but why is this a question mark? That's my point. Doesn't need to be. Doesn't need to be a question mark. And it's not actually within, I disagree with you with the logic, okay? I know you were on the planning board, but
It has
from a
nothing to do with me. It
layperson's
has to do
from
with
a
the process. what's
layperson's
supposed to happen.
perspective, it makes no sense. The application is for profit only, no alternative. He's not going to do an alternative. And anyway, that's my say.
I'm
So-
sorry, what was the date of that meeting that you said?
I think it was it was last week, so it was last Thursday. It was very long, and, coming back to the thank you, the developer and the team, including, some of the couple of the rock stars, we were there till 11, because they were the next to last agenda item, and I thought it was, again, very gracious of them not to kind of say, hey, can't we be second, so they had to sit through a lot of other things that were unnecessarily complicated, but, that's the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your interest in CEQA is very important. And what you should look into the fact that what we're gonna be fighting next is Albany wanting to shortcut the CEQA process. And that's something that every supervisor that I've spoken
For
to,
what?
they wanna shorten the process with the CEQA
Oh, no, short.
to get it, to fast track things. So that concerns me more than for-profit or not-for-profit, but
Well,
your
it is,
point is well
it is-
taken, and
It is a long process, or
Yeah.
can be,
and it does bring out a lot of things
it does.
we won't know.
Which is why, back to your question mark, we don't know what we don't know,
Yeah.
It was the
If-
whole Blythedale thing.
If
was-
I could just, it looks like from looking at my records here, on February 24th, the petition was considered by this board and referred to the
Right,
planning board.
exactly.
Exactly.
For them to provide a recommendation back to this board. So that clarifies the whole thing. So
But what he
this
did,
has been referred to them. They are reviewing it. They're also.
They are not
have an
reviewing it.
application. where
That's
they
untrue.
review
The
subdivision.
planning board's reviewing it.
no, they are not. Well, anyway, David said that's up with you. When they did refer it back, your board did refer it back to you on the planning board on that date. Because of that meeting unraveled, David, I guess, was supposed to, David, right, David Steinmetz?
Steinmetz,
Mr.
yeah.
Steinmetz was supposed to, I guess he was put in charge of talking about the town code change with the anticipation that, and I think the planning board had it on the agenda saying exactly verbatim, and that they were going to punt, basically accept it and move it to the town board, but it was not done because David breached the publication, notification. That's why I came to ask you. And so that did not happen. In fairness, Chair Collins, well, I don't know why he did it, but he said, we've taken up all our time. They couldn't even see, I think Cedar Knolls I was watching on the video, so I wasn't there. But I think Cedar Knolls was coming either to present or something, and it was just too late. So they lost that time, and then it didn't get referred back to Christopher's point. So maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I just know from that meeting, Chair Collins said he was not going to do it. And he did not say that in last week's meeting. He didn't say, whoa, 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 we haven't sent it back to the town
Yeah,
board yet.
it hasn't
It's
come
not
back to
supposed to
us.
be sent back until the secret process is completed.
Okay.
Then it goes
It's
back to
very
the town
confusing,
board.
Sir, and,
That's the process.
well, it's very confusing, and it's supposed to come back to the town to change, okay, to get the hearings going. So it's just, again, it's kind of first of all, it's unnecessary to be so confusing. It's just not necessary.
That's,
And to say that's the process is not a great answer, okay?
it's a very objective and honest answer, and
That's
that's
not- it's not.
based on my 33 years of experience in government.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry you're confused.
Okay, well, that's very polite of you, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, I have
And
a-
I would also just ask you to be a little more respectful. That's the third time you've been pretty
I'm
disrespectful.
very respectful, but if you don't have the,
Excuse me.
I'm trying to give you the right information, and you're saying it's not correct. So,
Chris, would the CEQA process analyze for-profit or not-for-profit?
Yeah, it would include economic factors related to the project, yes.
So that would come back to us and saying, this is the good thing about for-profit or a bad thing, and vice versa.
Yeah, usually economic factors are involved in generally any project.
Because I would give us, to Mark's point, would give us more to work
Insight,
with if
yeah.
we're making a decision, no?
That's what I was thinking.
But we want to clarify this position.
Thanks.
Dominic Vito, Hawthorne, I did sign in. Sorry, I lost my notes. So on that point, I would just check when you do the things separately, you could end up with spot zoning, could end up with illegal segmentation. So just realize that you can do them together, or you could do the code change first. When Mr. Steinmetz was here in December pitching this idea, one of the things he mentioned is that the first thing that needs to be done, and we know he's a reputable land use attorney who's been here many times, so he knows what he's talking about. The first thing that needs to be done is the town code change so that they can proceed with an application for a for-profit golf club. To Mr. Saraceno's point, why do they want for-profit? I don't know. The point that they make about membership clubs and the zoning change that they want, I believe the way it's set forth in the zoning code is a proxy for land use, not for the user. So this point that Mr. Steinmetz keeps making about it being discriminatory, you can't suggest that someone has to file nonprofit paperwork, I think that's a non sequitur. I think what we're really looking at is the need for a zoning text amendment, which either has to be done ahead of time with a seeker process, with a public meeting to discuss it, or at the same time. There was a request for the town board to be lead agent on this. I think Mr. McCarthy made that a while ago. The idea being the town board is a legislative body and it can make that change, and that change would be part and parcel of approving the seeker. So you could do it together. To Mr. Fulgenzi's point about what Mr. Feldman mentioned about nonprofit and for-profit and those economic things, if you don't, if this goes to the planning board, which it's before the planning board, they've already announced their intention to be lead agent. If they are lead agent on this in 30 days, they're going to be looking at doing a seeker process for a nonprofit club because they can't look at it as a for-profit club because that's currently not provided for under the zoning code. So what they're looking at, and we don't know this, right, Mr. Saraceno? We don't know this, but what they're looking at are impacts that are only impacts that are assessed for nonprofit clubs, certain amount of spots, that kind of thing. So I think one of the things I've requested in the past in writing, one of the things that I'm leaving up to you guys to really determine is whether or not you should be looking at this, one, to be lead agent, and two, whether or not Mr. Steinmetz was right when he was here in December pitching this idea that the text code amendment needs to be done first. Because when he appeared at that meeting where he pitched the idea to the planning board and it wasn't on the notice, which was the meeting that was supposed to reflect upon what had been referred from the town board to the planning board, but was not discussed. They said they would not discuss it. Chairman Collins said he would not discuss it. Instead, they spent an hour pitching the whole idea. What was discussed then is that they had discussions, including with Mr. Shafizadeh, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. They had discussions that would come later. And in fact, when they presented at this last planning board meeting, that was one of the things they mentioned, it would come later. So my request to you, Ms. Galadetz's request to you is please look into this. Doesn't sound right. It's probably something that should be done either at the same time, same seeker, or before, to make sure that the planning board has within their remit a review, a seeker review that takes into consideration something that could be more for commercial purposes, which to your point, maybe it's the same thing, who knows? But they're taking a look at it and let them have the benefit of looking at it from that perspective. And with all of the experience that you bring to bear, Mr. Saliano, I think that's worth a look. That wasn't the only thing I came up to
Before you
talk
go
about.
for
Yep.
that, one question I have is the fact that if we determine that we do a special permit use for a for-profit club, that eliminates sequel looking at what the effects could be for a not-for-profit.
That could be. Yeah, that's what they did in Briarcliff for the Trump Golf Club.
That's why,
Special
going
permit.
back again to Mark's point, why can't sequel look at both issues and say this is the good or bad about profit or not-for-profit, you know?
The planning board could hold in abeyance its approval at the end of its review. However, when it's reviewing things, it has to review as to what's under the zoning code. So the extent of their operation has to be reviewed from the perspective of a nonprofit club. What that means, again, I believe that's a proxy in the zoning code written in the 60s for land use. that it would be more limiting and not for the user. But as we know, for profit in R40 and R10 means, and even if it's special permit just for this site, means commercial enterprise. It means for profit, it means,
But aren't nonprofit clubs, they're not charities, like they still generate profits, they have to stay alive.
Absolutely.
And almost more so because a lot of them struggle financially. So I see those, and again, I will look at this, I promise, but I just see them both as being the same general business use, commercial use, whether you have Sleepy Hollow Country Club or Trump National Country Club, right? They're both operating the same way to
it
me.
may not, right? One is
It might
for-
not, and I think
one-
we should look at that, but,
One is for the benefit of its members.
right, one's for the benefit of its shareholders.
Correct.
Yeah.
And when you do things for the benefit of your shareholders, when you're for-profit only, that could drive down certain things like cost considerations, where you're not going to spend as much on whatever, and things are cut, whatever it is. Maybe they use cheaper pesticides or more cancerous pesticides. Maybe they use something with the water, and they're not, considering
Right.
that. Maybe the club's not going to look as beautiful as the nonprofit club. I don't know. We don't know. And maybe that's not their intention at all, Mr. Saraceno. Maybe their intention
Yeah, I hear what you're
is,
saying.
is something else entirely. But I think that is something probative that this town board, and by the way, since you're going to do this, and I put this in writing too, since you have to make a text amendment anyway, now's the time, Mr. Fulgenzi, to your point, now is the time to put those caps and those limits in place, similar to what they did in Briarcliff Manor for the Trump Golf Club. Capping the number of members, capping the kinds of things that can happen there. It's on a 2-lane roadway. It's using water for the golf course that it probably has to cart in. So there's probably a lot of limitations that could be put into the code. This is a wonderful opportunity to do that. Instead of changing it from nonprofit to for-profit, this is that opportunity to put those things in place
Like
that really
time of the
protect
night
us.
limitations, noise
Exactly,
limitations, lights.
right, exactly. Those kinds of things, Mr. Saraceno. Thank you.
Thank
Sorry, Mr. Feldman, I'm just going to continue. I have very few items remaining.
Maybe you can just wrap it up, thank you.
Thank you. I will do so. I brought up a few things at Coffee with Carl. I just wanted to bring them here for the entire board's consideration. Moratorium on development is one of the things I asked for previously. Asked for it again. The ethics board, which was brought up last time by Mr. Abenanti, it is similar, part and parcel of something that was brought up previously by me. I would love to hear some developments on that and what's happening there. Beverly Road, Mr. Smith's attendance here tonight reminds me that I'd like to remind you that you speak for 45,000, I speak for 1 or 4 in our household. Your voice carries more sway with the New York State DOT, with our elected representatives. Please push for something. We're supposed to hear by now what their plan is. There was a lot of feedback given in February. We haven't heard anything. Please push on our behalf.
I think the push that's come from myself and this board towards the state on 9A and Beverly Road.
I understand you have
We haven't
pushed.
seen back on this,
Yeah, thank you for doing so in the past. Please push again. Our persistence, your persistence, our town board's persistence is really needed here. Because when I send emails and when other people send emails, I think they just go in the trash, quite honestly.
Sometimes ours do too.
They live in this town. They occupy this town with us. They're sharing our resources. They ride on these roads. They know what they're like. They know what 9A is like. They know that corridor is very hard to travel in currently. And to make a road diet or whatever they're planning on doing, I'm sure they know and they can appreciate the level of service at Beverly Road is terrible and it could be improved, the light there. Those kinds of things would be helpful. And thank you for pushing in the past and keep on pushing is my message to you tonight. And then Claybird Lane, as we heard tonight, we need an update. We need to know what's going on there. You know, this has come up on several successive meetings, so it'd be good to hear from the board what's happened there and what's going to be happening there. And then I did mention at Coffee with Carl, the highway superintendent position. It's currently an elected position. I would ask for the town board to consider making that an appointed position. I know it requires a bunch of things, including a referendum to vote for. I know timing-wise, it might not happen this year. We're voting in the next 3 elections because of the Voting Rights Act and the settlement, so it could come up next year, but it's something to consider. And then finally, actually, I think that was it. Fieldwood is my last. Oh, finally, Best. Sorry, Ms. Costanza, I got your note. Thank you so much. I did put in a FOIL request. There was a law passed in September. 6 months have elapsed. There's supposed to be a fire emergency plan. There's supposed to be an emergency operations plan. Those were due on March 9th. They've not been submitted from the existing Best owners. So it's something that, if you want to keep us safe, that's a start. The building department, or not the building department, the planning department, whoever, someone's handling it. Sal Pinella's handling it. Mr. Pinella is probably handling it. Someone is handling it. Whoever is handling it, if they could reach out to those people and please get those in place. And then in terms of what the public needs to know about it, how are you protecting us if those things should ignite? That's what we'd like to know. Thanks, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do you want to update me on this? Do you want to respond to
Good evening, Tom Abenanti, Bear Ridge Road, Mount Pleasant. After all of the heavy discussions you've had this evening, my two items will be relatively easy. First, I'd like to hand up a page from the Mount Pleasant website. I think there's an oversight, and would just ask that perhaps you'd correct it. The map of Mount Pleasant, the town of Mount Pleasant, seems to exclude the two villages and the portion of Briarcliff that is in the town. It circles only the unincorporated area, and perhaps you could have whoever's handling the website to look at that. It's a minor matter, but the people in those villages are part of the town, and we should not give the misimpression that they're not part of the town. Secondly, I know that you have taken the discussion of the Ethics Board seriously, and I applaud you for that. I'd just like to make a suggestion that it should be, the Ethics Board should be as broad as possible, and I know it's difficult to find people to volunteer for something like this. I would suggest you reach out to some of the established organizations. Perhaps they can suggest some people or nominate some people. League of Women Voters, Chamber of Commerce, Pace Law School, Westchester Bar Association, the Republican and the Democratic parties, because the present law says you should have diverse partisanship on that board. So I would just suggest that you reach out to organizations. This way the public will have some faith in that in the Ethics Board, knowing that it wasn't just chosen by the town board, that people around the town had some input. I would also suggest that you look for lawyers, maybe even retired lawyers who don't have a stake in finding the results. So that would be my suggestion, and thank you for considering these different suggestions.
We had planned on announcing at the end of the meeting tonight, a request for people who want to volunteer towards the Ethics Board. I have to say that in all the years I have been involved in the town of Mount Pleasant, not once until the last meeting you were at did ethics come up. But we will definitely do something about it. Unfortunately, those people who were on the Ethics Board for many years are no longer with us, and we appreciate all the efforts they made over the years to keep us ethical, and we will continue to do so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ed, just one comment on that, just because I read the newspaper article.
Come up here, please.
I did a little research.
Everybody in town wants to hear what you're saying.
Except Tom. I had,
Sorry,
did
that's a delayed
sorry.
reaction.
I'm usually pretty polite, so sorry about that.
It's good you can make jokes, lightens the mood.
I did a little research on this ethics committee because I remember Ken Marshall suggested it or asked for it a few months ago. And I thought, wow, there are ethics boards. So I researched the, let's see, Ossining, Sleepy Hollow, and Briarcliff, both village and town of Ossining. And pretty much the town codes are the same, and they pretty much specify the composition of the board itself. You probably, even our own, right, does that, parties and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But in looking at it and just researching and doing a comparison of it, it looks like Briarcliff's is actually the strongest. And I certainly haven't talked to them, but I'd be curious how they enforce it, if whatever they find or whatever. But one thing they did, and I think this is an area that comes up quite a bit here, and sort of I was alluding to it a little bit, is they connected land development specifically in the context of the ethics board. So with any development, I haven't read it specifically, but you might want to take a look at that and maybe talk to the chair or some people over in Briarcliff about the composition and how it's working, and is it as effective as it sounds on paper? Just an
I made
idea.
a note, I'm gonna look into that.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks. Anyone else like to address the board?
Just a follow-up question. I'm just unclear. For air quality, who's responsible to test if there's an issue? Is it the Department of Health or is it the town?
David, would you know?
For air quality.
Yeah, like after a big fire, if they were to test air quality, because I had reached out to the Department of Health and they said, not my job, it's the town. But now I'm asking the town, whose job is it? I'm just curious.
That's a good question. I'm not familiar with an air quality test. I know that the health department does do a lot of other testing for us. If there's illicit discharge, other complaints with, animal complaints, the health department does come in. I'm just surprised that they wouldn't do an air test. I don't know if that falls under the emergency facility, the emergency operations, if there's an issue with that. If it was, for example, if there was a toxic fire, I'm sure that the fire department would have someone come in that handles toxic fire and flames, but
Right.
I could look into it and get back to them.
Yeah, that would be great because it was literally a one-word response,
Sure.
versus I asked for guidance and versus just a little bit of guidance would have been
I could reach out to
appreciated.
the scenes by now. That's
Okay,
it.
all right, I just wanted to know. Thank you.
Another question.
Sorry.
There's a chair over there, Dominic.
Sorry, yeah. Tom?
You want to be on the ethics committee, right?
Not yet. One point of clarification, and this will be 10 seconds or less. The moratorium on development that I requested, which I requested at Coffee with Carl, is moratorium on large development. So just for clarification, and you could define what large means, but we know there's a lot in the pipeline, and we are inundated in this town with a lot of large development, both approved and about to be approved. So we really need the help. I think the planning board needs the help. We, as a town, need the help. And as I mentioned to Mr. Fulgenzi at Coffee with Carl, we need time to absorb those impacts, to understand the economic realities of what has been approved in order, and how to move forward, what the best way is to move forward. So thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, move on to our town clerk's report. Emily?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening, everyone. Very short report tonight. Town Clerk's Report, Town Board Meeting, May 12th, 2026. Received and filed 2 notices of claim from Miguel Valley and Stephen Somer. That's it.
Your claims will be referred to the town attorney.
Thank you.
Moving on to council reports. Councilwoman Zeno.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening, fellow board members, residents at home. Emily, your report was so short because they put everything on mine.
Oh.
I have 11 items tonight, so
Wow.
buckle up. My first item is purchase order 830-26-02. This is from our Water and Sewer Department. Vendor is DeBlock Environmental Services. This is renewal of operational consultant service for water plants in Kensico and Pecanico water districts. Authorization is requested to extend and execute the annual consultant contract for operator services. The new contract term will run from January 1st, 2026 until December 31st, 2026. DeBlock Environmental has successfully assisted the department in the operation of our plants and our highly skilled individuals. The monthly fee for continued service for 2026 will increase slightly higher than prior to $28,000 per month. It is the recommendation that the town board approve this valuable service, which has been contracted annually since many years before David's tenure with the department. The costs for these services have been budgeted, and the cost increase will be included in next year's budget. The total cost is $336,000. I move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
I second, or I move for approval.
second by Joe.
Second, you mean?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Wait, what term are we approving? I'm still confused on this item. I had asked Darius for clarification. What term are we approving?
I take it as like this year, 2026.
So the purchase order has January 1st through December 31st.
Wait, hold on, let me go back.
The contract itself has April 1st through March 31st, 2027. Darius told me June, so I have 3 different dates, so I can't vote on it until I know.
Is it
I thought
April?
it was a one-year contract.
Well, yeah, they're all 1 year, but do you know what the term is, or?
You want to know when it starts, right?
I mean, yeah, because the contract is different than the PO, which is different than the cover letter and different than Darius's email.
Is it on?
Hello? Oh, good. Yeah, it started off as the, this year, just a year contract, but we wanted to push it for next year. But we could do it for this year, and then if we need to come back and modify it, we can modify it. Whatever the contract states, or we can modify the contract. Whatever the resolution states for the term, we could approve it as the term on the resolution from January 1st to
December.
December 31st.
Because the contract is April 1st to March 31st.
Yeah, I believe, Chris,
2027.
right, as long as the resolution states the term, we could adjust the contract. Contract is really more of a sample of what,
Yeah, we can I mean, if the board wants to, if Dave, if you have a recommendation that you'd like to provide the board,
Yeah.
on like a timeline, you can vote, and as part of your vote, set what you would want to be the
Contingent
term.
on.
Yeah, you could
So
do, you could do an amendment.
Adjust the contract
so can you
language
amend
to
the
match.
resolution right now as a term? And
Do
just
we
put-
have
Yeah.
their actual written contract yet?
We have the sample contract
It's
that's to be
whatever- We
executed.
have the services agreement.
Yeah.
It's who?
You
Whatever
could
you
vote for it
approve.
with an amendment of the specifics of the term.
Yeah,
So what's
I-
attached would be the contract if we approve this.
Correct,
So they
whatever-
would just have to
yeah,
change
whatever
the
the-
dates or change the dates on the resolution?
Yeah, the contract is the specifics as far as the term.
Well, have we paid them already for January through, I mean, it's May.
Yeah, well, it's outstanding right now. So there is an outstanding payment for them.
But
for
they have
this.
done the work
Correct, yeah.
without the contract.
Correct.
So
And
the
they've been doing
contract,
that since, for a period of time now, and that's why the contract had to get redone.
so the contract should be amended to be January 1st to December 31st if they've already done.
Yeah, I mean, we could do January 1st to 31st. We have to put in for another one next year anyway, so it doesn't matter if we extend it to next year. We could do it January 1st to the 31st. It'll cover this year that they've already done, and then we can move on to submit the one for next year, before this one ends. So let's do it that way. So leave it as January 1 to the 31st of December.
Okay, so then I'll move for approval based on an amendment in the contract, January 1st, 2026 to December 31st, 2026.
All in favor on that?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Me, I don't like approving contracts for work that's happened already. I just keep saying it.
My next item is purchase order 830-26-02. This comes from our engineering department. The vendor is Watts Utility Products. This is authorization to purchase a valve nut extraction tool and its required accessories in the amount of $10,471. The tool will salvage damaged valves from being dug up for repair, but more importantly, it will allow the water department to shut down the valve in an emergency situation, right? This is water. Which will result in reduced time, water loss, and damages while other valves are located to shut off and the inoperable valves placed. The valve nut kit is $9,083, and this stainless steel 2-inch nut set is $1,013, freight $375. Again, total cost is $10,471. I'll move for approval.
Second,
Motion by Danielle.
second.
Is that Joe?
Tom.
Tom? Get it out there. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
My next item is purchase order 144-24-02. This comes from our engineering department. The vendor is Peter Landy. This PO and resolution 181-26 will amend purchase order 144-24-02 to increase the bid amount by $400,000 needed for additional paving of the station parking lot and unforeseen field conditions. We had David come into our work session last week to review this with the board, and I am comfortable with this PO. I will move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
I'll second.
second by Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Me, sorry again. You know my position on this.
Okay.
My next item is Resolution 182-26. This comes from Rich Banquet, our highway superintendent. This is authorization to deposit bond for curb cut permit number 1523. It has been forwarded to the Office of the Comptroller for deposit in the escrow account, and until the work being performed under the bond has been completed and the road restored to the Superintendent of Highway satisfaction. The name is Coolin Homes. Bond amount is $1,080, and this is for work performed on Jackson Avenue in Hawthorne. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. My next item is Resolution 183-26. This comes from Rich Banquet, again, Highway Superintendent. Authorization is requested to accept the performance bond for site work on Palmer Lane in Thornwood under Street Opening Permit 64-61. The amount is $10,800. I move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
My next item is Resolution 184-26, also from the Highway Superintendent. This is authorization to deposit a bond for street opening permits 64-58. This has been forwarded to the Office of Comptroller for deposit in the escrow account. Once the work is performed under the bond and completed, the road restored to the satisfaction of the Superintendent of Highways. Name is Monteleone Enterprise. This is for work on Palmer Lane in Pleasantville. Bond amount $37,800. I move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Wait. Is this listed twice? 1080. What's the performance bond? This is a curb cut, now same property. Okay, sorry. My next item is Resolution 184-26. Right?
No, I think you just did one.
I did that
before.
one?
I just think, yeah.
My agenda has things, I was telling Emily this earlier, it has things on here double. Okay. My next item is Resolution 185-26. This is from Rich Banquet again. Authorization to deposit bond for street opening permit 6459. This has been forwarded to the Office of Comptroller for deposit in the escrow account once the work is done and the road restored to the satisfaction of the Superintendent of Highway. Again, we have Monteleone Enterprise, bond amount $13,500 for Palmer Lane in Pleasantville. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
My next item, Resolution 186-26, also from Rich Banquet of Highway. This is authorization to deposit bond for street opening permit number 6460. It's been forwarded to the Office of the Comptroller for deposit in the escrow account until the work being performed under the bond has been completed and the road restored to the satisfaction of the Superintendent of Highways. We have Monteleone Enterprise again, bond amount $18,000, property also Palmer Lane in Pleasantville. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Resolution 187-26 from Rich Banquet, Superintendent of Highways. This is authorization to hire Michael Clifford as a seasonal employee in the Highway Department effective May 13th, 2026. at a rate of $21 per hour. If approved, this will be effective Wednesday, May 13th. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
My next item is Resolution 188-26, again from Rich Banquet, Highway Superintendent. Authorization to hire Sullivan Clemming as a seasonal employee at the Highway Department effective May 18th at a rate of $21. If approved, this will become effective Monday, May 18th, 2026. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
Joe?
Joe, yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
My last item is Resolution 189-26, Rich Banquet, Highway Superintendent. This is authorization to hire William Scalpelhorn as a seasonal employee in the Highway Department effective May 20th, 2026, at the rate of $21. If approved, this will be effective Wednesday, May 20th, 2026. I move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
All right. Good.
Councilman Banano.
All right, good evening, residents of Mount Pleasant, Supervisor Fulgenzi, and everyone on the board, and anyone in the building tonight. I'm going to read from the Controller's memo dated May 12th, 2026. The entire Controller's memo is available during normal business hours at the Controller's office. Okay, from the Attorney Department, legal fees, $12,654. From our Public Safety Department, expenses related to fixing equipment and vehicles, $8,447. From our Parks Department, taking care of the fields for to get the season started, both Broadway Field and Volunteer Field, seeding and mixing and tilling, $6,386. As far as general repairs, guardrails and bolts plus guardrails themselves, $11,760.10. Highway machinery, $6,506.76. And finally, from the Kensico Water District, $14,498.72. Those are a bunch of chemicals related to keeping everything safe in the Kensico Water District. I'm not going to try to read through these chemicals, but safe to say there's $14,497 worth. Our total controller's memo for May 12th, $70,223.78. I move for approval.
Motion by Joe,
Second.
second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Joe, question.
Yep.
How do you pick out which ones?
I usually start by
Don't
the
do wrong thing.
biggest ticket items.
Oh, okay.
So I started with anything,
So larger items?
yeah, I picked the largest items.
Okay. Thought I had the wrong paperwork.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councilman Saraceno.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening, everybody. I have one item tonight from the Parks and Rec Department. This is for a purchase order number 70-26-36, Quincy Amusements. They are out of Norwood, Massachusetts. This is movie camp trips for summer fun and great ventures camps for grades 1 through 4, taking place in July of 2026. The total cost is $5,021.25. Move for approval.
Motion by Mark,
Second?
second by Danielle. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
That's all I have. Thanks.
Councilman Saliano.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My reports from the police department. We have good news. We have got a grant from Congressman Lawler for PD for communications. It's a reimbursement grant. We're able to upgrade our communication systems, which allow us to serve our residents and civilians better if there's an emergency. It's AV Tech 3-position console quote. It's $325,853, and 15 Pyramid repeaters, $39,765.50. The total cost is $365,000 in $16.50. The vendors, Goosetown Communication, again, this did not cost the town anything. It was a grant by Congressman Lawler. We appreciate his support, and that allows us to communicate more effectively, God forbid if there's an emergency. It allows PD to do their job better. So special thank you to the congressman, and I move for approval, please.
Motion by Tom,
Second.
second by Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And I believe this week is Police Officer Appreciation Week. We had put something on Facebook. I just want to say that the men and women of our police department are doing an exceptional job, and we're very thankful and very grateful, and please keep up the good work.
Thank you. Town Attorney, I don't believe we have anything on tonight.
Nope.
Save money. Scheduled meetings, so work session is Tuesday, May 19th at 7 p.m. Business session Tuesday, May 26th, 7 p.m. And to, again, what I was saying earlier about the Board of Ethics, we are, tomorrow will go out on the website that we were entertaining volunteers for our Board of Ethics. Those of you who have an interest, please submit your name to the town. If there be no further business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Tom,
Second.
second by Mark. Thank you, meeting adjourned.
Good night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Have a good evening.